Hello everyone. I am drberkkkaratas. I can't get my penis hard, I can't control my penis anymore, which I hear from patients very often, and I get some messages very often. I've explained this in a few videos before. But I told it in such interludes, because I did not tell it in such a title. Also, I already explain in detail here to the patients who reach us and come to us. In fact, that you can't dominate your penis, that you can't harden it. Now I want to explain this in a little more detail here. Now, in order to understand this, we need natural things, that is, we need some physiological and anatomical information. There are roughly two types of muscles in our body. One is striated muscle and one is smooth muscle. Striated muscles work voluntarily, that is, they work with an order and are completely under our control. For example, our arm muscle is like this. It can get up whenever we want, we can download it whenever we want, you can move your finger whenever you want, etc. There are also muscles that work involuntarily, that is, reflex automatically. These are also called smooth muscles. For example, our stomach muscle, kidney muscle, heart muscle, and penis muscle work with a cause and effect relationship. For example, if you eat now, your stomach muscle works automatically. If you run, your heart muscle automatically accelerates. If you drink water, the muscles and glomerulus in the kidney work and make water. You can't do that. I eat but don't digest it in my stomach. Try. Will you be able to? Or let me run, but my heart muscle, so my heart doesn't accelerate. Or I don't drink any water at all, but my kidney urines, or I drink a lot of water and keep my urine in the kidney. We don't have such a possibility, so why do these muscles work with a consequential relationship? These penis muscles are also such muscles, that is, smooth muscles. Now, of course, you need to know the anatomical thing here. How does hardening happen? Then you will understand much better. See, now this is a penis that we've cut in half, and that's the split image. Now we have a little artery here through the penis. That's where the blood will come from. Now think of it this way, imagine that there are millions of bubbles in the penis, small by little. Blood will come from one end of that balloon, blood will go from the other. So look around these balloons, and there are smooth muscles of the penis in areas that look white. These are normally loose. When it is loose, of course, it prevents these balloons from expanding, that is, it compresses them. At the same time, since these arteries are wide, blood cannot fill here because it will put pressure. But when sexual stimulation comes, when it's triggered in some way, whether it's a nervous stimulus, hormonal, chemical, it happens, you see, these muscles, these big muscles over there, the big ones that are white over there, the muscles that are big in the loose state, contract. So think of it like the contraction of a sponge. What happens when it contracts? The pressure on the arteries is removed. Therefore, the blood begins to fill into these bubbles. And as a result, there are a lot of bubbles inside, and when they all expand, the penis grows in width. And hardening happens. We don't have any control over these muscles. In other words, we work with cause and effect, just like in the stomach-heart muscle. What is the reason? Taking a pleasure. If you get pleasure, these muscles contract and stiffen. But if you replace pleasure with worry and anxiety or something else, these muscles won't contract and they won't automatically harden. I mean, I can't actually control my penis, I can't control my stomach, I can't control my heart, and when you open your eyes, you see it automatically. So there is no such thing as ignorance. This is also a reflex thing. You can think of it like these. Therefore, if you get pleasure, there will be hardness. In other words, you need to take pleasure in a subject, sexuality. I've talked about this before. Let me repeat, hardening is actually a very complex structure. There should be a number of visual, physical, auditory and hormonal stimulations. What happens? Nerve transmission. Of course, the nerves must be strong. In other words, that signal that will contract those muscles has to go. There is muscle contraction. As I said, blood flow increases, return decreases and hardening occurs. Look, if you enjoy it, all of this happens automatically as a result of these warnings. It happens reflexively. In other words, after you have eaten the food, when it goes down your throat after swallowing the bite, it is no longer out of your control. You can't control what happens after that. You can't stop what you eat in the gut. You cannot stop it in the stomach. They all have a reflex functioning. When we perceive hardening in this way, things will be much easier. Thank you.